What if I told you there's a country where getting married can cost more than buying a house? A place where bride prices are so expensive that some men spend 10 years trying to save enough money just to marry one woman. A country where women cannot freely go outside alone at night, where nightlife almost doesn't exist, and where the government controls daily life in ways that feel frozen in another century. This country is Turkmenistan, one of the strangest and most isolated nations on Earth. Most people know almost nothing about Turkmenistan. It rarely appears in global news, very few tourists are allowed inside, and the country operates almost like a hidden world separated from the rest of modern society. But once you look deeper, Turkmenistan becomes one of the most fascinating countries on the planet. Let's start with marriage. In Turkmenistan, bride prices are not just traditional gifts. They are treated almost like official market values. The amount depends on education, family background, beauty, and social status. A woman with only basic education may require a bride price worth several $1,000s. But women with university degrees, respected professions, or wealthy families can require tens of thousands of dollars in cash. And this is only the beginning. The groom's family is also expected to provide livestock, handmade carpets, gold jewelry, expensive wedding ceremonies, and additional gifts. In many cases, one missing item can delay or completely cancel the marriage. For ordinary young men, this creates enormous pressure. Official salaries in Turkmenistan may sound acceptable on paper, but real purchasing power is far lower. Many ordinary workers earn only enough to survive comfortably, not enough to accumulate massive marriage payments. In poorer villages, some men would need many years just to save the minimum bride price. Because of this, bride kidnapping still exists in some areas. Young couples sometimes use staged kidnappings to bypass expensive wedding traditions and avoid impossible financial demands. And despite modern laws, society remains deeply conservative. Unmarried women face strict social expectations. Many cannot travel alone freely. Meeting unfamiliar men privately can create gossip and social pressure. In some areas, women avoid going outside alone at night unless accompanied by relatives. Even more controversial are the expectations surrounding virginity before marriage. In traditional communities, a bride's purity is treated as extremely important. If problems appear shortly after marriage, families may demand divorce and request the return of bride payments and wedding expenses. This creates enormous pressure on women throughout society. At the same time, although the law officially supports monogamy, unofficial religious marriages still allow some wealthy men to maintain multiple wives. Usually, only the first marriage receives legal registration. Additional marriages may exist through religious ceremonies without formal recognition. And in some rural communities, having multiple wives is still viewed as a symbol of status and power. But marriage traditions are only one part of Turkmenistan's strange reality. This country is also one of the most isolated nations in the world. Foreign visitors face strict controls. Tourist visas are extremely difficult to obtain. Travel routes must often be approved in advance. Guides accompany visitors closely, and photographing government buildings or security forces can create serious problems. Even for local citizens, leaving the country can be difficult. The government carefully monitors travel, especially for young men. Many people require official guarantees from employers or relatives before international travel approval is granted. And if someone fails to return home on time, the guarantors themselves may face consequences. To outsiders, this level of control feels shocking. Yet despite its isolation, Turkmenistan is not a poor country. In fact, it sits on one of the world's largest natural gas reserves. This enormous energy wealth funds a surprisingly generous welfare system. Education is free across the country. Public schools and universities charge little or nothing. Textbooks and many educational materials are provided by the state. Healthcare is also heavily subsidized. Basic hospital treatment, surgeries, testing, and many medications cost almost nothing for ordinary citizens. For serious illnesses, government hospitals in the capital often provide treatment at little or no cost. Utilities are also unusually cheap. Natural gas, electricity, and water prices remain among the lowest in the region because of state subsidies. Some food products are heavily supported too. Basic flour, rice, bread, and local ingredients can cost far less than in many other countries. Housing support is another major part of life. Large portions of residential housing are state-supported or subsidized. Young couples, low-income families, public workers, teachers, and doctors may all qualify for low-rent apartments or affordable housing programs. Compared to major cities around the world, the cost of basic survival in Turkmenistan is surprisingly low. And because so much of the economy is controlled by the government, job stability is also unusually strong. Most major jobs come from state offices, energy companies, schools, or public institutions. Mass layoffs are rare. Working hours are heavily regulated. An extreme overtime culture barely exists compared to many countries. But this stability comes with another price: personal freedom. Turkmenistan has some of the strictest social regulations in the region. Smoking is heavily punished. People caught violating anti-smoking laws can face massive fines. Alcohol is also tightly controlled. Only limited state-approved locations may legally sell alcohol, and access for ordinary citizens is restricted. Bars, clubs, and nightlife are almost non-existent. After evening hours, many streets become nearly empty. Restaurants close early. Shops shut down. Even in the capital city, nighttime feels unusually quiet. People walking outside late at night may be questioned by police or security patrols. To many outsiders, it feels almost surreal. And yet, despite all this control, many citizens describe life as calm and stable. The divorce rate remains extremely low. Not necessarily because all marriages are happy, but because divorce carries massive social consequences. Divorced women often face difficulty remarrying. Families may lose social standing. Men can also experience career and reputation problems after divorce. So many unhappy couples simply remain together permanently. Turkmenistan also possesses one of the most famous horse breeds in the world, the Akaltek horse. Known for its incredible endurance and metallic golden appearance, the breed has been raised for thousands of years and is treated almost like a national treasure. Its image appears on national symbols, currency, and official state designs. The government invests heavily in horse breeding and racing programs, and these horses are often presented as diplomatic gifts to foreign leaders. And then there's the famous door to hell. Deep in the Karakum Desert lies a giant burning gas crater that has been on fire since 1971. Soviet engineers accidentally created the crater during drilling operations. Fearing toxic gas leaks, they ignited the site expecting the flames to disappear within days. More than 50 years later, it is still burning. At night, the crater glows like a giant fire pit in the middle of the desert. It became one of the most recognizable symbols of Turkmenistan and one of the strangest geographical wonders on Earth. This is what makes Turkmenistan so difficult to understand. It offers stability, cheap living costs, and strong state support. But it also limits freedom, movement, and personal choices in ways many people would never accept. Some people see Turkmenistan as peaceful and secure. Others see it as isolated and heavily controlled. But one thing is certain, there is no other country in the world quite like it. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more fascinating stories about hidden countries, unusual cultures, and shocking realities around the world, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next incredible story.